Mr. President, my colleagues, my name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Need for Federal Ministry of Education and the West African Examination Council to review their policy and implementation date on guidelines for the change in the curriculum of secondary schools in Nigeria in order to allow secondary school pupils adequate preparation before examination. The Senate notes that Section 14(2)(b) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, provide that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. And to this end, Section 18 of the same Constitution provides that government shall direct its policy towards ensuring that there are equal and adequate educational opportunities at all levels. The government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is required by the grand norm to promote science and technology, strive to eradicate illiteracy, and ensure education for all citizens. The Senate further notes that in line with the constitutional mandate and in tandem with the Goal 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Goals, the Federal Republic of Nigeria created the Federal Ministry of Education to pursue educational policies for the nation and also established the West African Examination Council pursuant to WAEC Act 1973 as the major examination body for senior secondary school education in Nigeria. Aware that pursuant to the statutory mandate of WAEC in Section 2 of its Establishment Act, the Council issued a new guideline for the registration of students for the 2025-2026 examination. The guideline required that all SS3 students nationwide are required to adopt the new curriculum immediately, despite the fact that the guideline was initially scheduled to operate in the next 2 years and applicable to pupils who are currently in XX1 and who are scheduled to write WAEC in 2027-2028. Further aware by virtue of the new guideline, subjects such as computer studies, civil education, and all preferred trade subjects are being removed from WAEC Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination, as the courses no longer offered, not to be examined in exams slated for May through June 2026, despite years of preparation by senior secondary school pupils in Nigeria. Worried that with the removal of these 3 subjects and all pupils across all specializations and combination, be it science, humanities, and business courses, are left with only a maximum of 6 courses each, despite the Examination Council requirement of a minimum offering of 8 and a maximum offering of 9 subjects for WAEC Senior Secondary School Certificate Registration and Examination. This implies that each pupil will have between 2 to 3 courses to be examined upon in May, June next year, despite not ever offering the courses before and with abysmal preparation. Cognizant that although the introduction of new trade subjects such as beauty and cosmetology, fashion design, garment making, livestock farming, computer hardware and GSM repair, solar photovoltaic installation and maintenance, and horticulture and crop production are commendable. Insisting that students without prior education on this subject should be examined thereon in May-June 2026, we have negative implications on the student exams and quality of examination results and standard. Results that the Federal Ministry of Education and West African Examination Council should exclude the current SS3 students who are slated to write senior secondary school examination in May-June 2026 and November-December 2026 from this guideline. That the new guideline by WAEC be implemented commencing with the current SS1 students who will be scheduled to write WAEC in 2027-2028 academic season to allow for adequate training and preparation in order to preserve and maintain credible educational standard. I hereby move.
Distinguished Senator Oshomole.
To support the motion very ably and competently and timely moved by distinguished Senator Karimi. And with your permission, I would like to, in addition to seconding, I would like to, Mr. President, that you grant me a few minutes to speak in favor of this motion.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe listening to the well-thought-out motion, it just reminds me of one of the problems we face in this country. A culture of ad hocism. We wake up, we think of an idea, we seek to implement without preparation. In every other civilized part of the world, an introduction of a new subject or a new tax, anything, the citizens are put on notice that over the next 2 years, 3 years, this shall take off. During this period, government has responsibility to do homework. In this case, first asking the question, do we have qualified teachers enough to teach in every secondary school across the length and breadth of Nigeria? Mr. President, I dare say that evidence does not exist. Have we prepared the laboratories, all the necessary equipment to make this kind of subject possible? Mr. President, that evidence does not exist. Have parents been informed to prepare the minds of their children to take on board these additional subjects? Mr. President, that evidence does not exist. So the Minister of Education can't wake up overnight and say, from June, you shall be examined for a subject that you probably have not been taught, or you don't even have people to teach it. I do not have any iota of doubt about the noble intention of the ministry. But the intentions are not enough. We must be seen to do sufficient homework to enable us carry out what obviously, if well coordinated, will be in the national interest in view of the fact that the world is now moving increasingly to knowledge-driven, computer-based, and we are in a digital world in which artificial intelligence has become the theme of the day. I am also not sure that in introducing these new subjects, the old ones should completely be deleted. I want to borrow from the preemptive statement of Chairman of Appropriation by appropriating part of his unrecorded statement, because the motion hadn't been seconded by the time he made those statements. Therefore, I hereby appropriate his words to say that, Mr. President, we need to invite the Minister of Education to engage our relevant committees, the Committee on Education, the Committee on Third Fund, all relevant educational committees, and to persuade the committee with verifiable evidence as to what is on ground to enable these courses to take place. We don't plan in a manner that will cause embarrassment to our young ones, and even to us as parents of children who are in school. I therefore urge my colleagues to look at just two things here. Know whether or not it is desirable to teach, but whether or not proper homework has been done to enable this subject to be taught in a manner that an average child can be fairly advised to be examined on a subject for which he has not been properly taught. There is nothing wrong in saying, but in 2 years' time, this shall be compulsory and mandatory subject. And during those periods, government itself would have done its own work, and this exercise can take off smoothly without any impediment. We must avoid the culture of ad hoc approach to issues that require systematic planning, budgeting, preparing the minds of young people and the not so young to expect that over the next X period, this subject shall become compulsory. I therefore second the motion, and I want to commend Senator Karimi. I didn't know that, busy as you are with this issue you face in Kogi, that you have time to even have this depth of
being introduced according to the body of this motion. They are more of practical subject than theory. Because if you look at subjects like cosmetology and beauty, fashion design and garment making, livestock farming, computer hardware and GSM repairs, solar photovoltaic or installation and maintenance, and horticulture and crop production. According to the body of this motion, most of these subjects are practical subjects. And the fear as expressed by the mover of the motion, Mr. President, I'm in total support of the fears that if students who have no prior knowledge of all these subjects will be examined in the 2026 West African Examination Council, it calls for concern, serious concern. And it is expected that the Minister of Education has question to answer before the Senate. We are not saying that they should not introduce new curriculum. It's good, because what I can see is that they are trying to make our students not only to be theoretical in their approach to studies, also being practical, which is a welcome development. But how far have they gone in trying to carry everybody along in this singular action? We need to ask questions. We in the Senate were already expressing fears, and so many other Nigerians across the globe whose children are going to be writing these exams. There's cause for concern, and I'm of the opinion that as I've so asked, that we invite the Minister of Education and other relevant stakeholders, if it is even a one-day public hearing, to come and clear the doubts and also the fears as expressed by the Senate and the entire Nigerians on this new curriculum that has been introduced, and immediate examination on them. I think it will be a step in the right direction. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so submit.
Is there anybody opposed to this
decision like this? There is a Council of Education in Nigeria, and that Council of Education comprises of all the commissioners of education in all the states in Nigeria. And as much as possible for this to be introduced by the ministry, by the federal ministry, they must have the concurrence of all the ministers of education, the commissioner, pardon me, in all the states in Nigeria. And to this effect, I want to believe that it will do us well to thoroughly investigate this motion before us. And not only this motion, not about these 3 courses alone. A new curriculum is being proposed as well. It may also be an opportunity for us to ask further questions about all of this. So members, and as well as the general public, can be aware of what is going on and why this is taking place. But unilaterally for the Minister of Education to take a position like this, I doubt it as much, and as such, I recommend that it should be invited and the issue should be thoroughly investigated. Thank you, Mr. President.
Motion, in fact, I support it. But I have an additional, I think that in this day and age, computer studies and civil education should not be removed from our curriculum. They can add things to them, but it would be a great shame where we are struggling to get into the 21st century in terms of computers, that we should remove them. There's a choice for students to pick what they are interested in. And so, like everybody else, I would advise that the relevant agencies as well as the ministers come and have a public hearing with us. But most importantly, civil studies, civil education is critical in any society. So removing them, I just don't understand. And that's why I also move that we should discuss with them and there should be a public hearing and we should pay a specific attention to those 2 subjects. Thank you.
Because everything in the world now is going digital. And for you to, at this stage, remove computer education, computer studies from the examination board of WAEC is very curious. I think it will be a disservice to the nation. It will muddle up the educational system. Civic education is very important. The children need to know their national anthem. They need to know their obligations to their nation, to their families, and all that. Civic education is very, very important for the good upbringing of the children. You know, so again, Ministry of Education will have questions to answer in this regard. And for me, I align myself, so that will come in the prayers, that we urge them to ensure that these subjects are duly examined in the WAEC curriculum. And if they want to remove it, there should be proper education and sensitization of Nigerians before they can do so. Everybody is saying that it's important to bring the minister before us, at least before the committee on education. Committee? I'm saying it's important to bring the minister to the committee to come and brief us, and the committee can look into this. There has to be a proper investigation so that it's not even rumor. So let us bring the minister and also even the chairman of the council on the education, like Senator Idiot pointed out, that all the commissioners of education in the country are members of the educational council. So we should do proper investigation to be sure that this information is even true. And then if the information is true, then we redirect them. And I also want to commend Senator Karimi for even realizing that we are not prepared for the new curriculum, for the new studies that they have introduced. So if indeed they want to introduce those things, they should be optional. They should not be compulsory. And moreover, they should also exempt those children who are already in SS3, who have not been taught on these subjects. You can't examine somebody on something you did not teach. Otherwise, that is a panacea for failure. So I think we will take it comprehensively when we go into our prayers. Can we go into the prayers? Prayer 1, that the Federal Ministry of Education and the West African Examination Council should exclude the current SS3 students who are slated to write senior secondary certificate examination in May, June 2026 and November, December 2026 from this new guideline. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I think this is the right thing to do. Prayer 2, that the new guidelines by West African Examination Council be implemented commencing with the current SS1 students who will be scheduled to write WAEC SSCE in 2027 and stroke 2028 academic session to allow for adequate training and preparation in order to preserve, maintain credible educational standards and even results also.
Mr. President, I thought we wait for, and not what we want. What we want is that the Senate do resolve to invite the Minister of Education to committees of education and other relevant committees to engage him on the matters arising from this motion. Yes. Because if you look at prayer 1, you are giving him an instruction. If you look at prayer 2, you are also giving him an order. So what you need to do, these two prayers at now are not necessary, because we said we should invite him, call him, ask questions, and arising from his answers, then we'll bring back the recommendation of the committees to the Senate for further legislative business.
So prayer 2 prayer 2 is what we are. If you need to change anything from prayer 1, you have to come by way of motion for rescission. Yes, you have to come by way of motion for rescission. So prayer 2, that the guidelines by WAEC be implemented commencing. So I think that one, we can go with the Deputy Senate President's motion. And it doesn't mean that you will not still go back to prayer 1 when you are meeting with them. Yes, so yeah, seconded. So I want to put the question. Those in support that we suspend further prayers until the minister and relevant heads of agencies in the educational sector meet with the Senate committee and relevant committees on education and have a dialogue on the issues raised in this motion. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So let me quickly thank distinguished Senator Karimi, and to say that these are very weighty issues, and that it's also preemptive, so that we do not have mass failure in WAEC in the 2026 examinations. So I thank you for bringing this up. I thank my colleagues for their contributions, and I want to say that the chairman of the Senate Committee on Education and all relevant committees in the educational sector should immediately invite the ministers, and they should look into these issues and report back to this Senate within 2 weeks, so that it will help us to plan, because we can't allow this to enter January. I believe that these are issues that should be dealt with before we enter into the new year. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So I thank all of you. And then we should revert to the Senate in 2 weeks.
Point of order, Mr. President.
One on basic and secondary. Basic and secondary. So that is the one that should lead. The Senate Committee on Basic and Secondary. Or do we do so by way of ad hoc committee?
Normally, Mr. President, is basic. It's something that is within the purview, purely basic education. They are under.
Who is the chairman of the Senate Committee?
Lawan. Who is the deputy?
Is he here?
The deputy. Where is the deputy? Yes, what's it called?
It's on tertiary?
No.
Okay. Is there any need for the committee on third fund?
No.
To join
It
them?
doesn't affect at all. Basic. Only basic on. It's called Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary.
I know it's a committee on basic and secondary
Yes, only
education. But I would like distinguished senators who are concerned to also attend the hearing when the ministers come with the relevant agencies so that we can have a more robust engagement, because the issues are very serious, and to revert to the Senate within the next 2 weeks so we don't end up causing problems for the future of our children. Okay, so
Point
that
of order,
done.
Mr. President.
That done.
Point of